Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I really believe this is something that challenges, I'm going to say all of us. At one point, you've dealt with this and it's impacted your life, prevented you from moving forward, succeeding in, doesn't matter what it is, could be a personal situation, relationship, could be your job, career. I'm talking about self-doubt, how you move forward with confidence, how you not become an OT, overthinker. And she helps people with that all the time. She's an amazing Vibrant coach. Of course, she's with Vibrant Coaching. Dr. V is with us today. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. It's fun to hang out with you on a Tuesday.
For sure, for sure. You know, it's interesting. I just had a thought. Like, there's so many people that we would look at and we would admire and think, wow, they've got confidence. They really do. But on the inside, they may be lacking, but they don't show up that way. Do you find that a lot of us do that?
Yes, it's really incredible to hear different stories from the people that I'm just so honored to get to work with as a coach. And I do a lot of strategy sessions with high capacity, high performing people. And yeah, I would say everybody is overcoming something. And a lot of people are out there, as one writer puts it, doing it afraid. So they get their why, their motivation, their reason for going for it in alignment to where they're able to overcome that fear that is part of being human.
And thank you for saying that. It is. You know, we feel bad sometimes that we have fear and it's holding us back, but it's a part of life. We're wired that way, evolutionary wired that way, just to protect ourselves. Even, you know, the cave people had fear.
I mean, it's important. My undergrad degree is in biology, but I am removed from it. But part of knowing the difference in our environment is key to us surviving, not hurting ourselves, and it's amazing some of the things that we might take for granted, especially in like the medical community. There are people who don't have the ability to like feel, so if they stepped on something or touched something that was sharp, that puts them at risk. So some of those things that are wired in are to help us know about our environment and protect ourselves. So we can work with it and, help us to still achieve success.
Yeah, you just said something that resonates with me based on what somebody told me, and sending that sharp text or responding in a very sharp way. They said, think of these three things before you do it. Is it truth? I'm trying to think of, wait, hold on. I'm going to put these in order. Is it true? Is it kind? And there was one other one. I'm trying to remember what it was. There's three.
That usually happens when we try and remember three things.
Get 2 out of 3. It'll pop in my head in a second.
Meatloaf said 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So you're doing great.
I'll go with that. But yeah, you need to process it before you hit send, right?
Yeah. And I've seen that too, just giving yourself some guidelines. And that's really what we're talking about today. I'm a person that tends to word things in a positive way. So our viewers / listeners today, you get to pick your title, either moving forward with confidence or overcoming self-doubt. Whichever one resonates with you, that's what we're here for today.
Are they both the same?
Well, wording for me matters. And so things in the negative aren't as motivating for me. And I love the idea of moving forward. So yeah, overcoming the self-doubt helps you to move forward with confidence. And you kind of like mentioned, I loved how you said it, OT, overthinking. And that is the first step, recognizing that we're participating in a cycle. We might be participating in the overthinking, self-doubt cycle, or there's the taking action, building confidence cycle. And I believe we're powerful people, so we get to decide which cycle are we going to feed? Which cycle do we want to participate in?
Well, moving forward, those two words are very, very powerful, very positive. So I would say I would gravitate toward those. Just we're moving forward, in a positive direction, right?
Yeah. And so self-doubt can hinder us from moving forward in a few different ways. I'm going to mention the top 4, and for our time together today, we're going to focus on 2. So there's hesitation, hiding, hypercritical, and helplessness. And when I was preparing for our show today, it's like hesitation and hypercritical are the ones that I want to focus on. So are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right.
I've had pictures in my mind of what these could be, but let's go.
Okay. All right. I believe in you. I believe you're going to do a great job. So love to use this phrase, kick out the self-doubt. So we're going to kick out the self-doubt caused by hesitation. And here's some telltale signs. Hesitation, and even just when you're in that space where you're on the verge of action but not fully committing, hesitating often is triggered by uncertainty. It looks like the waiting, the overthinking. And here's one that we don't always think about: perfectionism. We've kind of talked about it before, how just the waiting for the perfect time, the perfect conditions. So that's going to create inertia, no action. But what's wild about hesitating, we could still end up being busy, having constant motion, but not forward motion whenever we're hesitating. So I've done that before, where there's something I want to do, but I'm doing all these other things that can keep me from moving forward with confidence. So that's part of it, is acknowledging, becoming aware of what the hesitating looks like for you.
Is hesitation the same as procrastination?
It can be.
Okay.
Yeah, procrastination and perfectionism in itself can cause a cycle. So you put something off sometimes because you care so deeply about the outcome. And that can be combined with, oh, well, I'll wait until I get one more like or one more follow on social media. It's probably not just one, but that's just an example. But when this happens, then I'll be ready. And a lot of times you'll hear people who have achieved success on their own terms. They talk about that moment where they just went for it. They decided to go all in. So when that perfectionism can be so strong that it keeps people from acting, the thing to do is to start small, take baby steps. You can always make something better, but if you never start, you rob yourself of the opportunity to improve.
It's like you're giving yourself excuses.
Yeah, that is a big part of it. And we're going to see that word come up again, excuses. So sometimes we can have a strong sense of how we want the ideal to be, and we feel like we're so far from that. So that can be a time where the big picture thinking becomes overwhelming, and people think about everything it will take, what could go wrong. And that's why breaking down the goal into smaller steps and focus on the next step instead of all the steps, focusing on one, and that helps to reduce the overwhelm. So you can write down one thing that matters to you, one thing that you can do to move forward. Having a conversation, researching something, or, just making it smaller than we can sometimes make something so big in our minds.
So, at the sake of using a cliche, you're
Yeah.
making a mountain out of really a molehill, and
Mhm.
you're all just doing it up here. It's really not
Oh,
the
yeah.
reality.
Yeah, the mind is that powerful. And this is why I love having conversations with people, because that's the power of reflection, taking the time, investing the time to ask ourselves, why am I hesitating? What's keeping me from moving forward?
Hmm. How about are we ready for hypercritical yet?
We are already.
Okay. Um, is that perfectionism? Is it kind of the same?
No, this one gets a little bit deeper into what is fueling the inaction. And this goes into um, the, the triggers that might involve fear of being hurt, fear of being disappointed, fear of failing. And for some people, the fear of disappointing other people can be a part of being hypercritical. So it's almost like you're being hard on yourself, or even allowing the possible critique from other people to keep you from moving forward with confidence.
Hmm. How does that how does that look in terms of the hypercritical aspect?
Mhm.
How do you know you're being hypercritical? I guess that's where I'm getting at. I'm
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So the characteristic here is negativity. So you might find yourself looking for flaws. And if you look for things, you're going to find them. And then when you find the flaws, focusing on them, like magnifying them, making them bigger. Some people, like we mentioned, the E word excuses, focusing on why it can't be done. Again, what could go wrong? Knowing what you need to do, but almost talking yourself out of why it won't work.
Mm,
And then sometimes being hypercritical is it comes to people believing that they just can't do it, like it's impossible. And if you get in that space, you can talk yourself out of doing something that you say is important to you. So whether it's being in a place of hesitation or being hypercritical, the result is the same. You're not moving forward. You're letting the doubts about yourself impact the outcomes you're going to experience.
Isn't it amazing how you can talk yourself into or out of something?
Yes, it is amazing. And I know I'm being repetitive, but it is intentional that how we think about things, what we say about ourselves really matters. But the perfect conditions do not exist. And yes, there is the possibility, there is risk that something could not work out. But that goes back to, why does this matter to you? And I believe when you connect with a strong enough why, a strong enough reason, you are able to overcome those things that might be holding you back. So that's actually, again, part of the process. What are the excuses that you're using to hold yourself back? Confronting that fear, like, what are you afraid of that's going to happen? And then you eliminate those excuses. You choose to commit to yourself instead of focusing on, I don't know, it sounds weird to say it like this, but it's like you want to give yourself the chance to prove yourself wrong. Like if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to fail, it's never going to work, like go for it, try it, and at least get the gift of learning from experience versus kind of just staying in this purgatory of what if.
Have you used this one? And this is the lamest of them all.
But
Just I'm not going to have enough time to do it. I'm not going to be able to really focus on it. If you can make the time, you can.
and that's where it goes back to, if it matters to you, why aren't you investing in yourself or that opportunity? Because I've heard it said this way: 5 years from now, you're going to be 5 years older. And so, like, the time is going to keep marching on. What do you want to be able to say about yourself after that time has passed? And I will admit, I'm one of those people who historically has never liked, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? I don't even know why that bothered me, especially when I was in my 20s. But, make it less overwhelming. And here's a quick example. So let's say there's someone who wants to start a business because they want to have an additional stream of income. So they could eliminate the excuse by getting a job. They could commit to, okay, I'm going to go after my dream of having my own business, work for myself. I'm going to just go all in. Or you could commit to, all right, I'm going to see what happens the next 2 months. And if it doesn't look promising, then I can look for an opportunity to work for someone else and keep doing what I can with the business. That last option of giving yourself a defined time period to see what works out is a great solution if you found yourself being hypercritical about yourself, the possibilities of succeeding. Because the key is to find a solution instead of complaining. You remove the excuse and you take action.
Is it reasonable to give yourself a timeline?
Yes, because the research out there on goal setting, habit formation, it makes it more real when you put a deadline. Many people have probably at least heard of SMART goals, or you can go online and look it up. But our brain, our mind is wired towards reaching what we put out there. So that's why we want to kick out the self-doubt, because when you start attaching that deadline, it gives you something to look forward to. It doesn't have to be a long amount of time, but something that's realistic that you can reach for, because then when you reach that goal, you can celebrate the wins. And we need small wins to help us participate in that taking action, building confidence cycle.
The wins are important.
Yes.
They really are. And even if they're the smallest little thing, you could be having just not a great day, and then one tiny little thing hits your mind. Like, maybe you're going to do something later. I cook a steak, and you haven't done that in a while, and you're looking forward to it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to do that for myself. A lot of times it's things you think of that benefit you personally, self-care, things like that.
Hey, and I'm a big fan of writing it down, putting it in your phone, because sometimes ideas are like butterflies, like they flutter, and unless you metaphorically capture them in some way, you'll lose it. And I think those are moments where, again, it's so powerful to have something to look forward to. So I think when we have those things like, I haven't done that in a while, or there's a chance to invest in myself or have some fun. So again, this moving forward with confidence, overcoming self-doubt, it doesn't have to be something major, but the focus is something that matters to you.
We have a few minutes left. I want to make sure we don't run out of time.
Yeah.
So next up, eliminate the excuse.
Yeah, we were talking about that because that is the best way to counter the complaining. So what we've talked about today is identify the things that for lack of a better word, are triggering you? Is it the uncertainty or is it fear? Where you're finding yourself being critical or you're waiting on perfect conditions. Regardless, confront whatever excuses you're making and come up with a plan, make a decision, make a commitment to yourself to be a change agent, to bring about the change that you want to see.
All of this comes back to, I guess, the same thing, to physically write it down.
It helps. It really does.
Right?
And to tell someone about it who's a great cheerleader, who is going to check in with you. That accountability factor, that's part of writing it down. But I know in my life, there's certain things that don't become real until I mention it to certain people. Because sometimes that provides that extra motivation that you need to move forward.
Well, yes, and that would be somebody like you, and especially in the accountability, you can tell your friend, depends on your
Yep.
relationship and their personality, whether
You
they're
choose wisely. Yes.
right, whether they're going to push you. You know, it's one thing, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. I'm a little worried about this. I wonder how that's going to go. And they could say, well, that's great. Yeah, good luck and all of that. But then, 3 weeks go by and you haven't done anything. Or are they going to push you? I know that
Yeah.
in a positive way, you're going to help somebody move forward uh,
Mm-hmm.
with the accountability as well.
Yes.
Oh, what have you done in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I'm biased when it comes to coaching. That's why I'm a huge fan of it, because it's a way to have what I like to call encouraging accountability, where when people say something matters to them, as a coach, it matters to me. And I want people to have a more meaningful, fulfilling life. So that's, a big part of why I became a coach. And I love listening to and learning from people so that I can help them move forward with confidence. I can help them overcome self-doubt.
And be vibrant.
Yes.
And that is your website. Please share it with everybody.
Yes, it is www.bevibrant.today. So you go there, you can fill out the contact form and then follow the process, and I'll get to find out if working with me, Dr. V, is a way for you to experience vibrant coaching.
I believe it's so important to have a system in place. And it's funny because I read my horoscope today and it actually said, make sure you have systems in place. And I guess, resonates with me because I've always been a believer in that. You have the systems, you have the plan of methods that work, that have been tested, not just by you, but just in general, which I think we all need. We don't know what to do. We really don't.
Yes, and there's an author out there, James Clear, Atomic Habit. He talks a lot that we fail to the level of our systems. So that's where coaching might be something that can help you jumpstart your system or create one.
Sure.
Because we love seeing progress and I love to celebrate. So I want everyone that I get to work with to be able to have those wins so that we can celebrate and make progress.
Don't be an OT. Just don't.
No overthinking.
And
That's right.
I have a really, really, really close friend, and her name is Tina. And I say, don't OTT, overthink Tina. And she's gotten a lot better since we first met. But and I hardly ever use that anymore because she doesn't do it so much. But I guess I'm her accountability. I call her.
There you go. I'm glad she has you.
Dr. V, always great talking with you, and look forward next time we get a chance to get together.
All right. Thank you so much.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.